All right, hello everyone. Welcome. Get myself comfortable here in my studio. I like to sit cross-legged in my chairs, so get yourself comfortable as well. Welcome to my Art with Ease free workshop, how to make more art with more ease. Here I have a super fancy high-tech slide. Make art with ease. I'm excited you're here. It means that you have been on the artist struggle bus for too long. Either you are feeling like you never have time to make what you want to make, or you have all these ideas that you can never get started on for one reason or another, or life is always getting in the way. Whatever the reason is, you are feeling stuck, or you are feeling like you can't keep the inspiration going, and it doesn't matter how badly you want these projects to exist, you're just having a really hard time bringing them to life, which first of all is such a normal part of the artistic journey, if you will. And something that I have definitely experienced plenty of angst and strife about not getting the results I want, or being able to make the art I want, or whatever the case may be. But I have since figured out how to make my art life so much more fun and easy, and that really goes into the rest of my life too. These principles apply to anything. So so I am excited that you're here, and I'm hoping I can help you get unstuck or get going. So, first of all, what do you want to make? It's a very important question to start with. Actually, you're going to want a notebook. I'm sure I told you this. You're going to want a notebook and pencil before we start. So, I'll take a sip of coffee. This is one of my first masterpieces when I was 5 years old. It says Davis, California, not Davisca. It's a cow. Davis, apparently, symbol is cows. I don't know. All right, got your pencil, got your paper, got your notebook. All right, so write down. Well, first what I want you to do is, it's kind of backwards. I want you to visualize. So, I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, picture that project in its finished state. I want you to take a few minutes, you can pause the video, to just sit with that project finished. However big or small you think this project is. Whether it's one painting or a series, or it's an entire album, or it's a single, whether it's a drawing, whatever it is. Picture it in its finished state. And then I want you to write it down. I want you to describe the finished project in detail. So describe the colors, the textures, the mood, the sound, the emotion, anything else that applies. I want you to try to take some time to write down how you picture this project in its finished state. Something that I find really helpful, and this actually isn't in the guidebook, which I'm going to try to sell you at the end of this video. This exercise isn't in the guidebook that I wrote on the topic of this video, the Art with Ease guidebook, is to write a stream of consciousness for 3 pages of everything about this project. Write who the response you hope it'll get, write how you're gonna feel when it's done, write who it's gonna affect, who is gonna love it, who is it for, write just stream of consciousness, write all about the feelings this thing is gonna evoke, and that's really gonna help you kind of narrow down or flesh out before you even get started in your mind what you're going to try to accomplish. And having that clear picture makes it much easier to get started. Oftentimes we're like, oh, I'd really like to, make a comic book, or I'd really love to start a band, or, and they're all really these vague things. But if we spend any amount of dedicated time thinking about it and coming up with specifics, it makes it a lot easier to know where to start. So there's a little bonus activity for you. Do that as well. So that's what? Be specific, visualize. Yeah. Next is who. Who is this project for? I'm going to give you the answer. You. This project is for you. When I say that, what comes up for you? Feel free to write it down. For me, I used to feel like it was self-indulgent, or self-indulgent, I think really is the best way to encompass it for me personally. Just felt like, well, if I'm just doing this project for me, then what's the point? Like, yeah. But the reality is, there's no one else who knows they need this, knows they want to see this, because it doesn't exist yet. This project is living and dying with you, essentially. And if you aren't excited about it, and if you can't figure out how to make it happen, then it is of no use to anyone. So you really have to be that person who is the primary reason you're doing this. It's incredibly freeing. It's also maybe intimidating, or there's a negative and a positive to this, but the reality, like I said, the reality of the situation is you have to take responsibility for this project. And no one is going to care about this project as much as you. Even if you, best case scenario, change the world with this project, you are going to care most about it because it's your creation and you made it. And so you need to own the fact that this project is for you, and that it's okay to feel a little selfish about it. It can be, I think that whole selfish thing is a big hang up for a lot of artists. I could get into gender and all that, but it's a big hang up for a lot of artists, like making time for your craft, when in reality, we know that we've heard you can't fill from an empty cup, you can't, or pour from an empty cup, you can't, you got to put your oxygen mask on before you help your neighbor, or things like that. They're all true. You're an artist, which means you need to make art. And, you can get into like, oh, the world doesn't need my art, the world needs me to do X, Y, and Z. But what the world really needs, I forget what quote this is from, but what the world really needs is people who have come alive. And as an artist, your art and that project that's been on your heart that you've wanted to start forever, that's what's going to make you come alive. So this project is for you. And the minute you can embrace that, I think it's going to free you up to make something that you are actually excited about, which is going to, then snowball into you actually making it, right? So who? It's for you. Project is for you. Next slide. If I can get my little papers all organized here. Okay. Why are you making this project? So if you exist in like the self-help sphere at all, the concept that your why is super important to everybody. And it's true. It's important to know why you're doing a thing when you're not feeling like you want to do the thing. You can say logically, I want to do this because I think it's going to be really cool and I'm going to feel great when it's done. But, well, so I am getting a little ahead of myself here. So you can logic your way through your why a lot of the time, but that's not actually super compelling to humans to have a logical reason why. Which is fortunate because I think most artists are especially not driven by logic. Stereotypically, I will say. So, first of all, let's talk about the context. The context piece. So, your why, I think this project you need to be able to see how it fits into the greater story of your life, the greater context of your life. So how does this project fit into your life story? Where you've been and where you want to go. How has your life up until this point drawn you into this project? And what's your life going to look like after this project is complete? Are you, we get a lot of, we have a lot of power in our lives, even when we feel completely powerless. The choices we make on a daily basis really do add up over time. So part of placing this project in your life story in this way is going to help you make the connections on the daily basis when you're not feeling like, I have a cat in my lap, by the way, so if I'm just petting a random tail, he just hopped up in my lap. So if you're not feeling like, I'm not going to work on my project today, I'm too tired or whatever, reminding yourself in that moment, no, this fits into where I want to go with my life. This is where my life has led me, is to this project, and this matters. So that's helpful. That's a very helpful tool I've used. Setting it into context in your life. And then the emotional results. So I did touch on this a little bit earlier. So in the whole logic versus emotion thing, humans are driven by emotion, bottom line. More than anything, and there's a concept called thought work, which is really popular right now in self-help and therapy and things like that, and coaching and all that kind of thing, life coaching. So it's what you think leads to how you feel, which is going to drive what you do. A lot of times people think that they have no control over their emotions or their actions, because those emotions feel so strong, and they miss the piece where it is all linked back to a thought. So that logic piece kind of is still in there, but the driving force is your emotion. So if you think, oh, this, it doesn't matter if I skip today, then that emotion is gonna be something like, the cat is licking me and distracting me, I apologize. That emotion is gonna be something like dismissive or nonchalant, or it takes some of the impetus off of yourself, and lets you off the hook, essentially, and then you're not going to do the thing. But if you turn around and think, no, I really want to make this project, or this project makes me feel alive, or I'm excited to do this project. Even the thought, I am excited to do this project, there's an emotion in there. So, it's going to generate excitement, it's going to generate purpose, it's going to generate feelings of motivation, and then you're going to be much more likely to get up and go work on your project. So an exercise I would love for you to do now is, and feel free to pause the video, is to write down the emotions that you're going to experience when this project is finished. How are you going to feel when it's over, when you have this finished project in front of you? Oh, cat. This is William Blake. Here. Come here, say hi to the people. There he is. There's my cutest cat. So, what emotions are you going to feel at the end of this? And then when you are feeling discouraged or feeling lazy or feeling tired or all these, conflicting feelings that are keeping you from starting or working on your project, this is when you remind yourself, but I want to feel, a sense of pride, completion. I want to feel excited about my life. I want to feel, purpose. All these other words that that can really spark motivation. So, next, where? Do you see a theme? Where are you starting from, and where do you want to go? When you're setting goals or starting out with like a dream or something, it's one thing to have the end map, like the end in mind, but one, like, forget the quote, or who said it, but begin with the end in mind. It's kind of a misnomer or not super helpful, because if you don't know where you're starting, you can't get anywhere. Like, think about a GPS. You have to tell the GPS where you want to go, and then you also have to tell it where you are, whether you have, geolocating set up on your phone automatically, or you have to like give it a physical address from where you want to start. You have to tell it where you are in order to figure out where you want to go. So here is where you take stock of a few things in your life. So first, we want to take like kind of a big picture overview of where you are in your life, how you're feeling, your circumstances, what is working in your life, what things are you enjoying, what things would you like to do more of, and what is not working in your life, what things would you like to do less of. Feel free to write it all down. Just take inventory. And in regards to this project, what is keeping you from doing this, from starting this project? Where are you at with that? Whether it's an emotional block like fear or self-doubt, or it's a time block or a circumstance block, write that down. Identify it. And another big piece of this puzzle of where you are is finding out how much time you actually have. So we'll get into like the emotional blocks and everything a little bit later, but time is a big issue. So we actually, hang on. Where? Here we are. Okay. So, I'm getting ahead of myself. Excuse me. This is when your little paper guys are not super helpful. So, how much time do you actually have? We'll get into a tool for that in a minute. But a point I want to make here is that setting realistic expectations for yourself is going to be key in staying motivated. If you set a goal that's way too big, you're never going to get started, because your brain is smart and knows it's impossible. If you set a goal that is even just a little bit too challenging, same thing will happen. Your brain is going to just give up before it gets started. Our brains are very sneaky. Fortunately, though, they're also strangely easy to trick. So setting really low expectations for yourself in the context of where you are in your life is actually a great tool to keep yourself moving forward. For example, I am a runner. I haven't run in a very long time, since my son was born. I kind of got into it a little bit a few months ago and then gave up again, and I'm slowly getting back into it. And I used to run half marathons, and I set myself a goal this month to run at least 1 mile once a week. It's so easy, it feels like it's not going to make a difference. But I am actually running again. That's the key. You want to make it so easy that it's like dumb if you can't do it. So especially when you bring back in that who piece, that this is just for you, that takes the pressure then off. It should take some of the pressure off of you feeling like, oh, I have to do this thing, or this matters so much to, this imaginary audience, or whatever it is. When it's for you, you get to set the rules and you get to lower the expectations of yourself, and then you get to create the work on your terms. So there's just a little tip there. When? So now we get into the time blocking piece. I have a little tool. So time blocking and planning. When is this going to get done? In the, oh my God, my printer, it looks terrible. Excuse the terrible print job. In the Art with Ease guidebook, you get this fancy little sheet. It is called a time block sheet. So it has the days of the week and then a schedule on this side. And and you can do this, just on your own paper. What I want you to do is look at your week ahead, and you can start it from whatever day of the week this is, and then just go through the next week and put in everything on the schedule that you need to do. So put your work schedule in there, put social events, put chores, put tasks that absolutely must get done, put your sleep, make sure your sleep's in there. I have this from 6 to 11, but you could totally do a 24-hour period also. And yeah, put everything in there. And make sure you put in travel time. Make sure you put in time to eat and time to get ready for things and buffer time. So time between events, because stuff always goes kind of long or short. And then from there, you want to hop back up, William Blake? No? Okay. From there, you'll see exactly how much time you actually have to work with. And this is just going to go back to setting those realistic expectations with the where piece, where you are. So when you have those realistic expectations set, you're not going to set yourself up for emotional strife when you don't get to meet your unrealistic expectations for yourself. This also, I think, is going to help you, you should consider at least when you are most energetic in the day. Some people really get fired up at night right before bed. I tend to be most energetic in the morning, and most creative in the morning. So, try to find spaces of time that fit your activity for that as well. So you've got your time block, then it's time to make a plan and actually schedule when you're going to do your project. So that is that piece. When. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot of instruction involved, but it can make a huge difference when you actually have it on a schedule, and you look at that schedule. Then it becomes, okay, this is when I'm going to do this thing. It alleviates a lot of anxiety as to I got to fit it in. And when you do it on a weekly basis too, that helps you to, if you can't get to it one day, you know when it's going to happen again next. So that is actually really helpful for your brain to not have to keep track of all that in your brain, because our brains are actually not great at, keeping time, for example. Time is a very relative thing. That's why we have clocks. So, so hopefully that's a good tool. Hi, William Blake. Oh my goodness, this cat. All right, when? And last but not least, how? How are we going to do this? This is getting into the brass tacks of, okay, you've got it scheduled, but now how do we do the thing? So first of all, setting goals. Set a goal. This goes with the time scheduling words. So a couple of goal setting tips. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of SMART goals. If not, just look them up. There's tons and tons and tons of articles on SMART goals. So I'm not going to get into that, but that's a great way to, again, get your goals specific and measurable, and all of these things make it easy for you to see the end result, like the end. It takes the ambiguity out of it so that your brain isn't like, oh, I don't really know what to do next, so I'm just going to keep playing my Facebook game. Do people even play Facebook games anymore? I don't know. You want to say hi to the people again? There's the cat again. Yeah, so set a SMART goal, and then what you want to do is break it down into the tiniest little steps. For example, with painting, I've often set myself goals to paint every day, but my minimum baseline of being able to check that box at the end of the day is to make a single mark. And having that be my goal has resulted in over 60 paintings this year with a 1-year-old baby. He just turned 1 last week. So there's proof that low expectations do not always result in low outcomes. It's actually really good for your brain, especially if you tend to be someone who's a perfectionist or an overachiever. Those are things that super duper get in the way. And so breaking your goals down into teeny tiny little pieces that are really easy to check off is going to help your motivation a lot. And then make sure you schedule when you're going to do those steps. And you will find that, time being relative, you'll find that sometimes the time blocks you set don't always line up with reality, and that's totally normal. Sometimes things just don't flow quite as easily one day. Sometimes things just fly out of your brain like it's, divine inspiration. But you will get a better feel for it, and carving out the space for yourself to be able to be creative is a hugely important piece. But again, making the space and then not putting those high expectations on yourself, that's where you're going to get the most enjoyment and ease out of your creative practice. Next is handling fear and doubt. This is a big piece for many artists. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Huge piece for many artists. It's completely normal. Not just artists. This is like a human problem. So fear is such a normal thing. It's what has kept us alive. And then doubt is really similar. It's risk aversion. And that has kept us alive. So they're, evolutionarily speaking, very beneficial things to have. But the problem is when our brain conflates, posting on Instagram or making a mark on a drawing with there's a puma outside and it's going to eat me. So an exercise I like to do when dealing with fear or self-doubt is to identify, so pen and paper, write down what your worst fear is. So, for example, making a post on Instagram, what is the worst possible outcome? Like, realistically, you posting on Instagram is not, maybe butterfly effect, but is not going to result in mass destruction. But it might result in a troll coming along and bullying you from the internet. And if that were to happen, realistically, how would it make you feel? What would you do in response? It's good for your brain to actually go through the scenario and see, okay, I might feel like completely giving up on everything. But when you write it down, it also gives your brain a chance to argue with itself a little bit. So with the troll example, you'd then want to ask, okay, how realistic is that actually going to happen? And then that can help. Just worst case scenario, someone bullies you. maybe more likely scenario, no one responds. How are you going to feel in that case? What are you going to do about it? And like I want to say here, all feelings are totally valid. You're going to have your feelings based on, whatever you think about the situation. And they're normal and they're valid. And what I want you to do, though, with this exercise is to decide, okay, worst case scenario, worst possible outcome for me emotionally. I mean, honestly, it's probably going to just be an emotional outcome. Can I deal with that? And how can I deal with that? So, a troll bullies me. I feel like garbage and I want to give up on everything. What can I then do and tell myself to help myself recover? Because that is totally within your power as well. You can you get the choice in how you respond. I'm not going to tell you how to respond in this made up scenario, which isn't even going to happen because it's just your worst case scenario. The point is to give your brain a plan on how to deal with that worst case scenario. So that's an exercise I use to deal with some fear and doubt, and I find that it's helpful. And it applies to a lot of different situations too. So just give your brain some reassurance that it's all going to be okay. And then the last piece of the how are we going to even get this done. So we've got our plan in place to like physically how's it going to get done. We know how to deal with our fear and doubt on some level now. And reminder, that's always going to be with you. You'll get better at it. And then staying motivated. That's a huge, huge piece. I remember just despairing that I must not actually want this. I must not actually be an artist because I hate making art. It's such a chore. Oh my God, it sucks. Yeah. That contributed to self-doubt a lot too. It's like, this is supposed to like flow from me. It's supposed to be easy. And why is it so hard? And I don't ever want to do it. So am I really an artist? And so just all that to say that's totally normal. And motivation. So here's the secret. You create your motivation. Motivation is something that happens after you take action. You've got to get the ball rolling in order to get the ball rolling. Does that make sense? So to use the snowball analogy, you physically have to make the snowball and roll the snowball in order for the snowball to start rolling. You can't just like will it into being. You have to take action. So similarly with art or a creative practice, art, music, baking, whatever your creative practice, or any goal you want to achieve in life, you just have to take action. And this goes back to setting your expectations really low, because you know what the next step is going to be. If all I set out to do is make one mark, then all I have to do is make another mark. And it just gets, it gets the ball rolling. That's the whole point. So I'm going to include from the guidebook my list of creative cues. So that's something that is super helpful to like trigger your brain into, okay, now we're doing this thing, now we're doing this. And so I'm going to give you that list. Those might be helpful to you. I hope they are. Just to like make it a little easier for your brain to transition from whatever you were doing before into your creative space, headspace. So yeah, creative cues are a huge help. Lowering your expectations is actually kind of magical, and feels super counterintuitive. I'm saying this as a former self-described overachiever. And yeah, once I figured that piece out, it like broke open all the possibilities for me. So just throw out all your expectations of yourself. They're not fun. They're not fun at all. And then just get started. Just begin. you've got your time scheduled for it. You're ready. Like, it's time to make the decision. Okay, am I going to follow through with this plan? Yes. Just going to get started. And then enough of that, over time, you will have finished paintings. You will have your finished album. You will, like, that thing that's been nagging you forever that you know is going to make you feel like so relieved and so, like, fulfilled and satisfied to have it finished in front of you is going to be done. And it's going to feel amazing. And I'm really excited for you, and I really hope that this was helpful. And let me know how, what your project is, what you have in mind. Let me know in the comments or in a reply to any of the emails. I love talking dreams and creativity and goal setting. So please do reach out and tell me what project you want to start with this framework. And if you want to go even more in depth, I have written a 30-page book on the subject, guidebook, called The Art with Ease Guidebook. And it is $15 for digital download and $20 for a physical copy, which I have somewhere. Where did I put it? Dun, 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 dun. I am so good at this business thing. Here it is. The Art with Ease Guidebook. And it comes with lots of journal prompts as well as lots of text and exercises and thoughts and things to help you finish your project. I made it for you. So I would love for you to head over to my website, www.kirabarsodi.com. There's a big Art with Ease button in the top, and that'll take you right to the guidebook. And then if you want more support, I do have a group membership program thingy, and you can also get more information on that too. And that's a great way to, like, connect with me and get accountability. That's the big piece of the group thing is the accountability and the check-ins and me hunting you down if you haven't checked in. Not really, but I will badger you. So, I would love, of course, to keep in touch via email, Instagram, all the things, and I would love feedback, and I really hope this was helpful to you, and happy making. Bye.